They thought they had the perfect trap. An elite female Apache pilot, electronically blinded and forced down in hostile territory, hunted for sport while war criminals bid on her fate in a live-streamed auction. What they didn't know was that Major Alexis Rodriguez had survived 3 wars and earned 19 confirmed kills through pure tactical genius. What they couldn't imagine was that their helpless prey was about to turn their hunting ground into a graveyard. And what they would never guess was that this hunt would end with half a village in ruins and a lesson that would echo through military academies for decades. Major Alexis Phantom Rodriguez guided her AH-64 Apache through Syrian airspace at 0352 hours, the darkness broken only by her night vision display. Her co-pilot and gunner, Lieutenant Jake Thunder Martinez, ran diagnostics from the seat behind her. All green back here, Phantom. Hellfire missiles armed and ready, though hopefully we won't need fireworks tonight, Martinez said, his Chicago accent evident despite the calm static. Alexis had flown with Martinez for 16 months. At barely 24, he was young, but had steady hands and nerves that didn't rattle under pressure. The first sign of trouble came at 0359 hours. Alexis's primary navigation display flickered, then died completely. Thunder, you seeing any issues back there? Negative, everything looks... Martinez's words cut off as his screens cascaded into static. What the hell? Phantom, I'm losing everything. Alexis tried switching to backup systems, but they were already failing. When she attempted to contact base, only silence answered. That's when she saw the first missile trail. The surface-to-air missile streaked past close enough that she could see the exhaust flame. Alexis threw the Apache into violent evasive maneuvers as more SAMs erupted from the darkness. Multiple launches, bearing 280. Martinez shouted. This wasn't random. Someone had been waiting. The electronic warfare was too sophisticated, the timing too perfect. They knew we were coming, Alexis said grimly, diving toward the deck. This whole thing is a setup. Vehicle lights converged on their position from 3 directions. They'd been herded into a kill box with military precision. Fuel pressures dropping fast, Martinez reported. We took shrapnel. Multiple system warnings. They had maybe 8 minutes of flight time before being forced down. The Apache touched down hard in what had once been a small village, now reduced to rubble. Alexis shut down engines and assessed their situation. Martinez was unconscious, blood trickling from a head wound where shrapnel had penetrated his helmet. As enemy vehicles crested surrounding ridges, Alexis grabbed her sidearm and survival kit. The settling dust revealed at least 9 trucks and 3 armored personnel carriers, far more than needed for simple capture. Check the bird for intel, but don't damage it, a voice called in accented English. Our employer wants everything intact, especially the pilot. These weren't regular insurgents. They were professionals specifically contracted to take her alive. Alexis dragged Martinez behind a collapsed wall as boots crunched through debris. A surveillance drone buzzed overhead, its thermal imaging tracking their position. Then the speakers crackled to life, and Alexis's heart nearly stopped. Her 6-year-old daughter's voice filled the air. Mommy, when are you coming home? I made you a drawing of your helicopter. Someone had hacked her personal communications, stolen family moments, and weaponized them. Major Alexis Rodriguez, a cold voice announced. We know about your daughter, Emma, your ex-husband, Michael, your mother in Denver. We know you have 19 confirmed kills and helped capture Colonel Viktor Petrov 3 years ago. Alexis's blood turned to ice. Petrov, the war criminal she'd helped track down after he orchestrated a refugee camp massacre. He was supposed to be in maximum security prison. Colonel Petrov sends his regards. This entire operation is being live-streamed to interested parties. Current bid is at $75,000. The winner gets to decide your fate after capture. They weren't just hunting her. They were broadcasting it as entertainment. Her humiliation would be sold to the highest bidder. Martinez stirred, his eyes fluttering open. Despite his head wound, his eyes were alert. Leave me, he whispered. You can move faster alone. Not happening, Thunder. The drone hovered overhead as tactical teams closed in. That's when Alexis spotted a partially collapsed entrance to an underground storage area. They slipped through the opening into what had been a basement weapons cache. Wooden crates lined the walls, many split open to reveal military ordnance. RPGs, ammunition, and improvised explosives. Jesus, Martinez whispered. This place is an armory. Alexis examined the weapons with practiced efficiency. Most ammunition was corroded, but the explosives looked intact. More importantly, she found military-grade plastic explosives with electronic detonators. Thunder, how's your demo training? Martinez managed a weak grin. Chicago boy, remember? I've been blowing things up since I was 10. Above them, boots moved across floors as mercenaries searched systematically. The voice echoed through speakers. We know you're down there. Current bid is now $125,000. Alexis felt cold rage building. They were treating this like entertainment while her daughter watched cartoons at home, unaware her mother was being hunted for sport. How much longer, Thunder? 3 minutes, Phantom. When this goes off, it's going to be epic. Alexis positioned herself at a ventilation shaft and keyed her radio, knowing the mercenaries were monitoring all frequencies. If anyone is monitoring this frequency, we are in a basement weapons cache approximately 3 clicks northeast of our crash site. We are about to engage multiple hostiles. Laughter echoed through speakers. Still hoping for rescue, Major? We've been jamming communications in a 60-kilometer radius. That's exactly what she'd wanted to confirm. If they were jamming communications, their electronic warfare equipment would be positioned close to their command post. Expensive, sensitive equipment. Thunder, are we ready? Martinez held up the detonator, his face pale but determined. On your word, Phantom. This is Major Alexis Phantom Rodriguez, United States Army, she said clearly into her radio. To whoever is watching this sick show, you picked the wrong pilot. Then she laughed. Not desperate laughter, but the dangerous laugh of a predator who'd realized her prey had walked into her trap. Thunder, she said, voice calm and deadly. Light it up. Martinez pressed the detonator. The world exploded. The explosion tore through the building like divine wrath, creating a shock wave that shattered windows blocks away. The carefully placed charges brought down their building and 2 adjacent structures, burying the mercenaries' command post under tons of rubble. When dust settled, eerie silence replaced chaos. Alexis and Martinez, pressed against reinforced support pillars, had survived in a pocket created by the basement's partial collapse. They climbed through wreckage toward ground level. Where the command vehicle had been, only a crater remained, filled with twisted metal and destroyed electronics. 3 survivors emerged from behind an overturned truck, but then Alexis heard the most beautiful sound in the world, approaching helicopters. This is Reaper 31 calling any friendly forces. A voice crackled through her now-functioning radio. We have your emergency beacon and are inbound for extraction. 2 Apache helicopters crested the ridge, chain guns spinning up, followed by a Blackhawk for extraction. The jamming equipment was gone, buried under rubble. Phantom, this is Viper 12, came a familiar voice. Heard you were having a party down there. Alexis grinned, recognizing Captain Lisa Park, one of her former students. Better late than never, Viper. The Apaches split up, using thermal imaging to identify remaining mercenaries and neutralize them with precision fire. Alexis watched with satisfaction as her former student demonstrated textbook close air support. As the Blackhawk lifted off, Alexis keyed her radio one final time. Tell Colonel Petrov that his money was wasted. Tell him that American pilots don't break, and if he ever threatens my family again, I'll come for him personally. 3 weeks later, Alexis sat in a Pentagon briefing room facing senior officers. The investigation had revealed Petrov's revenge plot, a network of mercenaries and hackers funded by war criminals seeking to humiliate American forces. The live stream had been traced and several arrests made. Major Rodriguez, your actions prevented a significant propaganda victory for our enemies, the general said. Your tactical innovation will be incorporated into survival training programs. There is one more matter, he continued. We've received intelligence that Petrov has additional contracts on your life. We can offer protection, relocation if necessary. Alexis shook her head. With respect, sir, I have a counter-proposal. I want to transfer to training command. I want to teach other pilots what I learned in that basement, that sometimes the best defense is making your enemy think they've already won. 6 months later, Alexis stood before a class of young Apache pilots at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Behind her was a tactical diagram of the Syrian village, now a case study in survival and improvised warfare. The enemy will always try to use your strengths against you, she told her students. They'll study your patterns, exploit your weaknesses, and try to turn your capabilities into traps. But remember, the moment they think they have you figured out, that's when you become most dangerous. A young lieutenant raised her hand. Ma'am, what if they threaten your family? How do you handle that psychological pressure? Alexis smiled, thinking of Emma's latest drawing showing her mother teaching other pilots. You remember that you're not just fighting for yourself. You're fighting for everyone who depends on you to come home. And that makes you absolutely unstoppable. Outside, Apache helicopters practice formation flying against the Kentucky sky. Alexis watched with pride, knowing each pilot carried lessons learned in a basement full of explosives where a trapped pilot had turned hunters into hunted. The war criminals who funded Petrov's revenge were still out there, but they'd learned an important lesson. American pilots weren't prey. They were predators. And when cornered, they became something far more dangerous than their enemies had ever imagined. The legend of the pilot who turned a death trap into a graveyard would be told for decades, reminding everyone that sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one your enemy thinks they've already defeated. From which city are you watching this video? Please write it in the comments. Don't forget subscribe to She Force Tales.